You start strong. You promise yourself this time will be different. You set the alarm early, open the book, show up to train. And then something strange happens. Nothing. No excitement, no rush, no sign you're improving. You practice while everyone else is distracted. You work while nobody is watching. You repeat the same basic actions day after day, with no feedback, no praise, no visible reward. Soon, doubt creeps in. You wonder if you're wasting time. You wonder if you're falling behind. You wonder why real effort feels so empty. This isn't just your problem. This is how modern life is designed. Everything around you is built to reward quick wins, fast results, instant validation, visible progress. But real growth doesn't work like that. It's more like walking uphill in thick fog. You're moving forward, but you can't see how far you've come. And most people quit not because it's too hard, but because it feels pointless. Here's the science behind it. Your brain is driven by dopamine. Quick rewards spike it. Slow rewards don't. When effort doesn't immediately pay off, your brain labels it as failure, even when you're doing everything right. That's why boredom feels painful. That's why loneliness feels discouraging. That's why discipline feels unnatural at first. And that's where an old Japanese principle comes in. It's called Shugyō. Shugyō means austere training. Training without applause. Training without excitement. Training without anyone noticing. Shugyō is the path of showing up even when there is no emotional reward. It's the discipline of continuing when motivation disappears. It's the understanding that boredom and loneliness are not signs of failure. They are signs that the training is working. For centuries, Shugyō wasn't meant to feel inspiring. It was meant to feel quiet, repetitive, unremarkable. Because the people who followed it weren't chasing feelings, they were shaping identity. And here's the truth most men never hear. If your progress feels slow, if your effort feels lonely, if your discipline feels boring, you may finally be on the right path. Before we continue, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and tell me in the comments the habit you want to master. Now, back to the story. Chapter 1. The story of Daniel. Daniel wasn't lazy. He was tired of starting over. Every few months he convinced himself this time would stick. A new routine, a new plan, a new version of himself. He joined the gym and trained hard for 2 weeks. Then the soreness faded. The excitement disappeared, and the sessions felt empty. He stopped going. He bought books, highlighted pages, took notes. At first it felt productive. Then the pages stopped changing him. The books stayed open. He closed them quietly. He tried learning a new skill online, watched tutorials, took notes, practiced for a few days. Then the progress slowed. The lessons felt repetitive. No one noticed he was trying. So he drifted back to scrolling. This pattern followed him everywhere. At night he sat on the edge of his bed with his phone glowing in the dark. One more video. One more post. One more distraction to avoid the uncomfortable feeling that nothing was moving. He told himself he just needed motivation, that he'd start again on Monday. That timing was the problem. It wasn't. Weeks passed, then months. Deadlines at work became stressful instead of manageable. He rushed tasks at the last minute. He avoided responsibility when possible. Co-workers his age began moving ahead. Promotions, recognition, confidence. Daniel noticed, even when he pretended not to. At family gatherings, the questions became sharper. So what's next for you? Still figuring things out? He smiled. He nodded. He changed the subject. Inside, something tightened. He tried again. And again. Each restart felt heavier than the last. One night, after abandoning another routine, Daniel sat alone in his room. The notebook on his desk was half full. The rest of the pages were blank. A quiet thought surfaced. Why does nothing stick? No anger. No drama. just a steady pressure in his chest. He realized he wasn't failing because he lacked discipline. He was failing because every effort felt pointless. There was no reward, no excitement, no signal that he was improving. And without those signals, he always walked away. Progress shouldn't feel this empty. That belief haunted him. Daniel began to notice something unsettling. Every time things got boring, every time the work became lonely, every time the progress slowed, he quit. Not loudly, not dramatically. He just stopped. He wasn't addicted to failure. He was addicted to feedback. Without praise, without results, without someone watching. He didn't know who he was supposed to be. Days blended together. His routine stayed inconsistent. His confidence faded quietly. Then came the moment that changed everything. It wasn't a breakdown. It wasn't a crisis. It was smaller than that. Daniel caught his reflection in a dark window late one evening. He looked tired, not exhausted, just worn down. And for the first time, he didn't feel angry at himself. He felt honest. I can't keep living like this. Not dramatic, not emotional, just true. He understood something then. Every path he had chosen depended on excitement to survive. And excitement never stayed. If progress required motivation, he would always quit. If growth required praise, he would always stop. Daniel didn't know the solution yet. He didn't have a plan. But he knew this: whatever came next would have to work without excitement, without validation, without anyone cheering him on. Because his old way had already failed him. And something told him the answer wouldn't feel good at first. Daniel didn't go looking for a mentor. He wasn't searching for wisdom. He was just tired of repeating the same mistakes. The conversation happened quietly. No big moment. No dramatic turning point. The man was older, calm, unimpressed by ambition. When Daniel tried to explain his problem, the inconsistency, the boredom, the constant quitting, the man didn't interrupt. He listened. Then he said a single word. Shugyo. Daniel didn't recognize it. The man explained slowly. Shugyo is the path of austere training. Not inspiring training. Not exciting training. Just training. Shugyo means committing to practice without expecting reward. It means doing the work when it feels empty. It means staying when every signal tells you to leave. Daniel frowned. That sounds miserable, he said. The man nodded. It often is. He explained that shugyo was practiced by monks, craftsmen, and warriors. Not to feel good, but to become precise. To remove dependence on emotion. To train character before results. In shugyo, boredom isn't a problem. Loneliness isn't a warning. They are the conditions. The man leaned forward. Most people quit right where shugyo begins. He explained that for centuries, students were given tasks so repetitive they felt meaningless. Sweep the same floor. Practice the same movement. Copy the same form. Not because the task mattered, but because the mind resisted it. Shugyo wasn't about improvement you could see. It was about reshaping the person doing the work. Daniel asked the question that had followed him for years. How do you know it's working if nothing changes? The man didn't answer immediately. Then he said the line Daniel would remember long after. Training is the reward. No praise. No outcome. No finish line. Just showing up again. The man explained that shugyo trains something modern life destroys. The ability to stay present without stimulation. To continue without encouragement. To build discipline before confidence. He repeated the word again. Shugyo. Not motivation. Not passion. Not excitement. Shugyo. A way of training where progress hides. Where results arrive late. Where identity changes first. Daniel felt conflicted. Part of him wanted to dismiss it. It sounded slow. It sounded lonely. It sounded like everything he'd been avoiding. But another part of him recognized the truth. Every time training became boring, he quit. Every time effort felt invisible, he left. And maybe that wasn't failure. Maybe that was the test. The man continued. In Shugyo, you don't ask if you feel like training, he said. You ask if you are the kind of person who trains. That idea stayed with Daniel. He didn't feel inspired. He didn't feel excited. But for the first time, the emptiness made sense. The boredom wasn't proof he was stuck. It was proof he had reached the edge of real growth. Shugyo wasn't a promise of fast results. It was a commitment to stay when there was nothing to feel. Daniel didn't fully understand it yet. But he knew one thing. If he walked away again, nothing would change. And if he stayed, without reward, without praise, without certainty, something inside him might finally shift. This was not the beginning of success. This was the beginning of discipline. This was the beginning of his real training. The training didn't start with intensity. It started with showing up. Not inspired, not confident, just present. Daniel chose one thing to train, 1 hour, same time, same place. No music, no phone, no reward. The first week felt unbearable. Chapter 1, the empty repetitions. Every session felt identical. Same chair, same desk, same silence. He expected resistance to fade. It didn't. His mind wandered constantly. Minutes felt longer than they should. There was no sense of progress. No one noticed. No one cared. At the end of each session there was no feeling of accomplishment, just relief that it was over. This was the moment he would usually quit. But the mentor's words stayed with him. Training is the reward. So Daniel returned the next day. And the next. Not because he wanted to, but because he said he would. Chapter 2. The first months. Weeks passed. The work stayed boring. The loneliness stayed. There were no breakthroughs. No dramatic improvement. Some days he sat there fighting the urge to leave. Other days he felt nothing at all. That confused him more. He checked the calendar once and realized something unsettling. He hadn't skipped a session in over a month. Not because he was disciplined, but because he stopped negotiating with himself. He showed up the same way you brush your teeth. No emotion attached. Still, doubt followed him. Is this doing anything? The mentor answered simply. Shugyo doesn't show results early, he said. It removes excuses first. That idea bothered Daniel. He wanted proof. But there was none. Chapter 3. The setback. Around the third month, life tested him. A stressful week at work. Longer hours. Less sleep. He missed a session. Then another. The old pattern crept in quickly. You've already broken it. Start again next week. Daniel almost listened. But something felt different this time. He didn't feel guilt. He felt awareness. He returned the next day. No apology to himself. No motivation speech, just presence. The mentor noticed. You didn't quit, he said. That's Shugyo, not consistency, recovery. That moment mattered more than any perfect streak. Chapter 4. Quiet changes. Months turned into a year. The work itself hadn't changed. But Daniel had. He noticed his attention lasting longer. Distractions felt louder, easier to spot. He still got bored, but boredom didn't scare him anymore. He trained in silence. On his commute. At his desk. At home. The same principle followed him everywhere. Show up. Do the work. Leave without reward. People around him noticed subtle shifts. He didn't rush conversations. He finished tasks without drama. He stopped complaining about effort. A coworker asked once, casually, "How are you so steady lately?" Daniel didn't have an answer. He just shrugged. Chapter 5. The test. The real test came unexpectedly. A high-pressure project. Tight deadline. No margin for error. Old Daniel would have panicked. Jumped between tasks. Chased motivation. This time, he didn't. He broke the work into dull, repeatable actions. He sat with discomfort instead of escaping it. He returned to the task every time his mind drifted. No excitement, no adrenaline, just Shugyo. The project succeeded. Not perfectly, but steadily. There was no celebration. Daniel noticed something more important. He didn't feel relieved. He felt normal. That scared him and grounded him. Discipline isn't dramatic. Chapter 6. The Shift. Sometime in the second year, something clicked. Not in the work, in his identity. Daniel stopped asking how he felt before training. He stopped tracking motivation entirely. Training was no longer an event. It was a condition of who he was. The mentor explained it simply. You don't rise to discipline, he said. You remove the option not to train. Shugyo wasn't about pushing harder. It was about staying longer. Daniel still failed sometimes, still missed days. But quitting never crossed his mind anymore. That door was closed. If you're still watching, comment I'm listening. Chapter 7. The Long Middle. Most of the journey lived here. No milestones, no recognition, no external proof, just repetition. Daniel trained while others searched for shortcuts. He stayed quiet while others announced progress. There were days he questioned everything. But he didn't leave. Because Shugyo had changed the question. Not, is this working? But who am I becoming? And the answer was forming slowly, silently. Loneliness is part of the path. Chapter 8. The Turning Point. The turning point wasn't obvious. There was no moment of triumph. One evening, Daniel realized something strange. The work no longer felt heavy. Not easy, but familiar, like carrying weight you've trained with long enough that it no longer defines you. Discomfort was still there. But it didn't control him. He understood then. Shugyo hadn't made him talented. It made him reliable. And reliability changed everything. Chapter 9. Perspective. Looking back, Daniel saw the pattern clearly. Every time progress felt invisible, that was the training. Every time he felt alone, that was the test. Every time he wanted to quit, that was the doorway. Shugyo wasn't punishment. It was filtration. It removed everyone who needed excitement to continue. Most people leave here. Chapter 10. Becoming someone else. By the third year, Daniel didn't talk about discipline. He embodied it. He arrived early. He finished what he started. He stayed calm under pressure. People trusted him. Not because he was impressive, but because he was consistent. He didn't feel proud. He felt aligned. The mentor said it once, quietly, you stayed. That was enough. Daniel didn't realize it yet, but he was finally beginning to change. Shugyo was never meant to stay abstract. It was designed to be practiced. Once Daniel understood that, the mentor turned the principle into a system, simple, repeatable, and deliberately unexciting. This only works if you stop romanticizing discipline, the mentor said. Shugyo survives on structure. The system had 4 pillars, not goals, not motivation tricks, rules. Pillar 1. Show up without emotion. You don't wait to feel ready. You don't ask how motivated you are. You show up whether the session feels good, bad, or empty. The mentor explained why. Your brain is wired to chase dopamine, the chemical released when something feels rewarding. When effort doesn't produce quick reward, dopamine drops. The brain interprets that drop as danger. That's why boredom feels painful. Shugyo reverses this. You train while dopamine is low. You stay anyway. Over time, the brain stops associating discomfort with failure. Daniel applied this everywhere. Morning routines, work tasks, training sessions, no emotion required. Pillar 2. Remove stimulation. Shugyo cannot exist in chaos. Phones, music, constant switching, all of it had to go. The mentor was blunt. Stimulation makes effort feel optional. Daniel trained in silence, worked without tabs open, finished tasks before checking messages. At first, this felt unbearable. Then something changed. His mind stopped searching for escape. Attention lasted longer. Neuroscience explains this simply. Focus strengthens through repetition, just like muscle. Every time you resist distraction, neural pathways deepen. Shugyo doesn't add discipline. It removes interference. Pillar 3. Measure attendance, not results. This was the hardest one. Daniel wanted progress. Proof. Numbers. The mentor refused. You don't track results during Shugyo, he said. You track presence. Did you show up? Did you complete the session? That's it. Results come late. Identity changes first. By removing outcomes, Shugyo prevents early quitting. There is nothing to judge, nothing to compare, just attendance. Daniel marked days quietly. No streak apps, no celebration. Consistency became neutral. Pillar 4. Train identity, not outcomes. This was the core. Every action reinforced a single question. What does someone like me do? Not what will this get me? Not is this working yet? Shugyo shifts behavior from motivation-based to identity-based. Psychology is clear here. Habits stick when they align with identity, not when they chase reward. Daniel wasn't trying to succeed anymore. He was training to become someone who trains. That distinction changed everything. The mentor summarized the system simply. Show up without emotion, remove stimulation, measure attendance, train identity. Shugyo. Repeated. Daily. Uncelebrated. This was why most people fail today. They overstimulate. They track outcomes too early. They need encouragement to continue. Shugyo asks for none of that. It asks for patience. Daniel applied the system at work. He started tasks without waiting to feel ready. Finished them without distraction. At home, routines stabilized. At training, sessions became automatic. Nothing felt dramatic. That was the point. Shugyo works because it feels ordinary. And ordinary actions, repeated long enough, change who you are. If you're still watching, comment your biggest struggle so far. Because the system only works if you stay. And staying is the real skill. The change didn't arrive all at once. It arrived in layers. At first it was small. Daniel noticed he finished things, not perfectly, but completely. Tasks that used to linger were done before noon. Training sessions ended without relief, just completion. That was the first shift. Consistency became normal. Then came the second layer. Weeks passed where nothing derailed him. No emotional spikes. No dramatic swings. Old habits still knocked. Scrolling urges. The desire to escape effort. But he didn't argue with them. He noticed them. Returned to the task. Stayed. Shugyo didn't remove temptation. It removed negotiation. The third stage surprised him. Pressure returned. A familiar situation. High stakes. Limited time. No margin for mistakes. This used to break him. This time it didn't. Daniel didn't rise to the occasion. He stayed the same. He worked through the problem the way he trained. Quietly. Methodically. Without urgency. The outcome was better than expected. A coworker said it casually afterward. "You don't seem stressed anymore." Daniel nodded. He wasn't calm because he felt confident. He was calm because he was trained. Discipline shows under pressure. The fourth stage took longer. Months of stability passed. No big wins, no losses either, just steadiness. Daniel realized something unsettling. He didn't need reminders anymore. Didn't need tracking systems. He showed up because that's what he did. Shugyo had moved from action to identity. Then the old challenges returned, sharper this time. Disruption, fatigue, doubt. Life tested the foundation. Daniel missed a session. Then another. The old voice tried to return. This is where it falls apart. It didn't. He resumed without drama, without guilt. That's when he understood the real transformation. He no longer feared breaking consistency. Because quitting was no longer an option. Identity outlasts motivation. Others noticed before he did. A family member commented on his routine. "You're always doing your thing," they said. Every day, at work, responsibility came without asking. People trusted him with follow-through, not brilliance. Reliability. Daniel didn't talk about discipline. He lived it. The biggest change wasn't visible. It was internal. He stopped chasing progress, stopped waiting for results to justify effort. The loneliness remained, The boredom returned occasionally, but neither mattered anymore. They were familiar, signals that he was exactly where he needed to be. Nothing impressive, everything effective. One evening, Daniel thought about who he used to be. The constant restarting, the dependence on excitement, the quiet frustration. He didn't feel regret. He felt distance. That version of him belonged to a different system, one that required applause, one that couldn't survive silence. Shugyō had replaced it with something quieter, something durable. He wasn't extraordinary. He wasn't obsessed. He was stable, and stability changed everything. Because when effort no longer depends on emotion, growth becomes inevitable. Daniel didn't feel transformed. He felt aligned, and alignment lasts. This is what Shugyō builds, not sudden success, not visible hype. A person who stays, when it's boring, when it's lonely, when no one is watching. That's the transformation. And once it happens, there's no going back. Daniel's story isn't unique. It's a pattern. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they misread the signal. When progress feels slow, they assume something is wrong. When effort feels lonely, they assume they're falling behind. When discipline feels boring, they assume it isn't working. Shugyō teaches the opposite. Slowness is not resistance. Loneliness is not failure. Boredom is not a warning. They are confirmation. Shugyō is the understanding that real growth happens in conditions that offer no encouragement, no applause, no excitement, no proof. That's why it's rare. Modern life trains you to move only when rewarded, to stop when stimulation disappears, to confuse feeling good with doing well. Shugyō breaks that loop. It removes emotion from effort. It replaces motivation with identity. It asks a single question, over and over. Who are you when no one is watching? Not when you're praised. Not when results come fast, but when the work feels empty. That's where character is trained. Most people will never experience this stage. They leave too early. They call it burnout. They call it boredom. They call it losing passion. Shugyō calls it the beginning. The moment you stop asking for validation. The moment you stop negotiating with discomfort. The moment you stay without needing proof. Something changes. Not outside. Inside. You stop chasing outcomes. You stop waiting to feel ready. You become someone who shows up. And that identity doesn't depend on mood, energy, or inspiration. It holds. This is why Shugyō feels lonely. Because it filters out everyone who needs encouragement to continue. And that's not cruelty. That's design. If you're on a path that feels quiet, if your effort feels unseen, if your discipline feels dull, you're not lost. You may finally be training the part of yourself that lasts. Growth doesn't announce itself. It accumulates, and one day, without realizing when it happened, you look back and understand. The emptiness wasn't the problem. It was the process. And the process was shaping you the entire time. Consistency builds identity. That's the philosophy. And once you understand it, you stop looking for motivation. You just stay. The path you're on was never meant to feel exciting. It was meant to last. If the work feels quiet, stay. If the progress feels slow, stay. If no one is watching, stay anyway. Because what you repeat without reward is what reshapes you. Not overnight, not dramatically, but permanently. Hold this with you as you move forward. I show up daily. I train without reward. I stay when bored. That's the discipline. That's the identity. That's the path. Before you go, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and tell me in the comments what habit you're working on. Now, back to your journey.